Hi everybody, and welcome to my Stamperia Songs of the Sea mini album tutorial series designed for Scrap and Create. The products that I am using today from the Stamperia Songs of the Sea collection are listed in the description box below, so you can click on those links to go to the Scrap and Create website to purchase those products and follow along. And there are also links to some products available in my Etsy shop, so if you would like to purchase those, you can click on those links too. Stay tuned for the tutorial. In this video, we're going to be decorating the treasure chest box that I am going to place my Songs of the Sea mini album in. So I'm not going to show you how to put this box together. If you purchase this from my Etsy shop, it will come with instructions on how to put this together that you can follow. Now, what I would recommend doing before you actually put your pieces together on the bottom is taking this piece here and these side pieces and this piece here and tracing them on your paper. Then you will have a template. It'll be much easier than how I'm going to do this. So I'm going to actually start first by covering the slats on the top of my chest. Now I have my pieces here already cut. This is from the 12 by 12 paper. It is the mermaid scales that matches the piece that I put on the top closure part of my mini album. I have 13 pieces cut. They're a 1/2 inch wide and they're 8.5 inches long. So I'm leaving them in order because I want them to be in order here so the design and the pattern is continuous. I'm going to take this first piece here first and I'm going to set it here. Then I'm just going to press my paper up against that closure piece to mark it. And then I'm going to take my scissors and cut right along there. So then that piece I'm going to glue here. And then here I'm going to do the same thing. And bend it on this side. And then I'll cut this piece to fit on the right-hand side. Once I have those pieces, I'm going to take this piece first and center it. And I'm actually going to glue this second piece on first so that it is centered. And then I'm going to line up this piece so that these ends line up just like that. Then I'm going to continue up this. I'm going to glue all these on except for these last 3 pieces. I will come back to those at the end because I'm going to need to make some extra cuts. I have all of my pieces on now except for these final 3 pieces. So what I need to do, I'm going to first set this piece to where it's lined up with the others on the side and then fold this over and crease it. Then I'm going to adhere down that one little piece here. Now I'm going to take this and I need to line this up with the top part. So let me flip this so you can hopefully see what I'm doing. I am taking this and lining these up. So it's going to go about here. So I need to cut off that 1/8 of an inch. And now that I've cut that 1/8 of an inch off the end, everything should line up. So I can cut that center piece. And then I'm going to cut 1/8 of an inch off of the end. Need to cut a little bit more until this piece will fit in line with here. So I'm going to glue these 3 pieces on, and then I'm going to repeat that same process with these on the second and third pieces. I've covered all of my top pieces, so now I'm going to work on the back side and the front side here. Now, like I said before, this is where it'll be really helpful for you if you do this before you put your box together. So I have my pieces. So this is from the 12 by 12 paper. I cut these to 8.5 inches, and they're 4 1/8 of an inch. So I've got this piece that's going to go here, but I am going to need to cut around this piece. So I'm going to mark it here where it needs to go. And I'm going to mark here where it needs to go. And then draw a line. And then I'm going to put this back on and double check just to make sure it's in the correct place. So this looks like it should be good. I'm going to take my scissors, cut right down that line. And then I'm going to measure this. So this is 2 1/8 of an inch. So I'm just going to measure across here 2 1/8. And then I should be able to press this up the side of here. And cut this piece out. Then once I set this on here, if I need to trim it at all, I can. So I'm going to trim just a little tiny bit off of this side. And a little bit more off of this bottom section. Now, once I have this piece, I'm going to hold it in place. I'm going to set this off the side of my desk because it has that other piece on it that's dimensional. You might not be able to see this, and I apologize because my head is going to be in the frame. I'm going to mark this where that curve is. So then I know where I need to cut this, and I'm going to cut this just a little bit above that curve, so I have a little tiny border when I place this on the front. Again, this should be much easier if you cut these pieces before you glue your chest together. So once I have that, I will go ahead and put this back on here. Okay, so you see I've got this little tiny bit sticking out here, just a little tiny border around the whole piece. And I'm just going to clean this up where I need to. And once I'm happy with it, I'm going to go ahead and glue it down onto the front piece. But before I glue this down, I'm actually going to take this piece. So that's the front piece. On the back piece, I'm going to turn this piece over because I want this stuff to be on this side. So I'm going to place this piece down on top of my second piece, and then trace this bottom section. So I don't have to redo that. I can just trace this, and then I'll cut the slots for those hinges. Once I have this in place, I'm going to set my piece on here. I am going to draw a line on either side of my hinges. And then this is 1 and, so about 1 5/8 of an inch down. So I'm going to draw my lines. Just a little bit more than 1 5/8. And then over here, gosh, I can't even see my marks. Okay, there they are. I'm going to take my scissors here and cut these out. Then I'm going to take this, lay it back down on here. Okay, so this one I need to trim just a little bit. Okay, so now that this fits on here, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this down to the back and this down to the front. So now I've got my front and my back and my top covered. I'm going to move on to my two side pieces. From that 12 by 12 paper, I've cut two pieces. They are 4 3/4 by 2 5/8. So these are going to go here on the tops. I need to cut this to that curve. So what I'm going to do is place this here where it needs to go. Okay, so then I'm just going to go in here and trace around this. And then I'm going to just use my scissors to cut this. So I'm going to come in here and just use my pencil to mark this. So I know exactly where I need to trim this. Once you feel happy with the shape you have, taking the other piece and then cut this one out, and then I'm going to adhere these two pieces onto the top section of the lid. Now that my tops are covered, I'm going to cut the pieces for here. So I've actually used that same 12 by 12 paper that I did the bottoms. I cut two pieces here. These are 4 3/4 inch, and they were as wide as this strip was, so 3.5 inches by 4 3/4. Now this isn't going to be big enough to cover the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this strip at the top, and I'm going to cut this out. Then from this piece here, I've cut two strips to 4 3/4 by 3/4 inch. And I'm going to take one of these and place it here underneath this. And I'll place this one on top and line them up so that it looks like a continuous piece. So what I need to do first is cut this piece. I'm going to put this in place. Get it set first, and then I'm going to flip this over and then use my pencil to trace inside there. And then just like on the front, I'm going to cut a little bit bigger than that actual cut mark so that there is that small border. So then I'm going to take this on my second piece, trace this on the bottom, and then cut this piece out. I'm going to start with one of my 3/4 inch strips, and I'm going to adhere this onto the top. But when I do this, I need to take one of these pieces and make sure that it's in the correct position. So this needs to be here. Take that and place it right there. And then adhere this down. And then I'm going to apply this piece and line everything up. Now that I have this side covered, I'm going to flip over and do the same thing on this side. Now that my entire box is covered, I'm going to come in here with some tarnished brass distress paint and a paintbrush, and I'm going to paint all of this and these hinges on the back side. Now you can leave them plain if you want to, or you can paint yours, whatever you would prefer to do. I'm not going to paint this on camera, but I will show you what it looks like when I'm finished, and then I'll come back and add some embellishments. Now that I have my wooden pieces painted, I'm going to go ahead and put my Graphic 45 antique feet on. I'm using E6000 to do this. And how I'm going to place these, I'm going to put my E6000 here in this area and then on my piece here. And then just place this here and try to line everything up so it's straight. So I'm going to put these two on and let them dry, and then I'll turn this box and put these two on. From the collectibles papers, I have cut these two images, and I am going to place these one on each side here. So I'm going to place these so that there's a little bit at the top. I don't want it to be completely centered on the actual piece. I'm going to center it a little bit higher, but then centering it left to right. And I'm going to place one on this side, and then I'm going to do the same thing with my mermaid on the other side. Now that I have both of my pieces on, I'm going to come to the front. From my wooden shapes, I have this piece, and I'm going to adhere this down here to the bottom underneath my clasp section. From the collectibles paper, I've cut this mermaid image. I will turn this in just a moment and show you what this is going to look like when it's on here, but I need to put it on here straight so that I can get this in the right position. So I'm going to be putting my adhesive on the bottom portion of her body only. And then I'm going to run her across slat right above that little buckle piece. So hopefully you can see this better at this angle. So this is where I have this piece adhered down. So she will be dimensional the rest of the way. Guess I can leave this here now. And I'm going to shape her tail a little bit to give her some dimension. And shape her hair as well. You can even shape her arm. So however you want, whatever dimension you want this to be, you can go ahead and do so. Then I've also cut multiple pieces out from my collectibles papers, and I'm going to begin layering these pieces up behind her to create some pieces that are sticking down this direction and up this direction. I don't think I'm going to actually adhere any down to the bottom section, so I'm going to keep it here. Now I am going to need to have this box like this whenever I place my pieces. So what I'm going to do is place my pieces on, then I'll come back and show you and walk you through and explain to you how I've put them on. This is the chest finished. So I put my mermaid here, then I have my seashell here that's just tucked down underneath of her first. It is completely open at the top, giving it dimension so when it's sitting up you see all of this. Then I place this piece next, and I curve these pieces up just to give it some dimension. Then I've added a seashell here and here and just layered them behind, and again these are both open so that it's not glued flat. Then I have this piece here. It's actually just adhered to the back of the seashell down underneath of here, but it is completely open at the top. I tucked one of the Graphic 45 keys here and here. I have one of the starfish pieces, and I popped the ends up so just the center is down. Then on the top I have another one of those starfish pieces. Again, the same thing, just the center is glued down, so then these sides are open or popped up. And then here we see another one of those little starfish. Again, same thing. Then I've taken and added pearls anywhere that there are like the gear pieces. I've added pearls, and then I added some rhinestones to the center of the key. I put a rhinestone here and here on her cuffs, and I put 2 of them on her. I put some rhinestones here on this shell. There's a pearl on this one. I have pearls down here on all these gears, and I put pearls here. Then on the sides, I added pearls around that. And the same thing here, I've added pearls around on the gears and then around some of those little, they're like metal grommets, so I've added some there as well. The back doesn't have anything on it. You could add some of your other fussy cut pieces, or you could add some gems and pearls, but I'm going to leave mine like this. From my 12 by 12 paper, I'm going to cut this to 4 5/8 by 8 3/8. And I'm going to place this piece down here on the base of my chest. From this 12 by 12 paper, I've cut several strips. The first one is 3 3/4 by 8 3/8 of an inch. I'm going to place this one on the back wall of my chest. Then I cut the next piece down to 3 3/4 by 8 3/8. This is going to be for the front wall of my chest. Then I cut another strip to 3 3/4. And these pieces are 4 5/8 of an inch. So this one I'm going to place on the left wall, and this one I'm going to place on the right wall. So I'm going to adhere all of these papers down. I'm going to place this one down first, and then I'll add these side pieces on, and I'll come back and show you what that looks like. I have all of my paper added, and then I went ahead and put some of the wooden shapes on. So I put the wooden ship here. I took one of the pieces from the collectibles. It was a porthole that has the ocean, and I backed the chipboard or the wooden shape with that piece. From the center of that, I placed that piece here on this front wall. And then over here, I have the trident down here at the bottom. I am not going to be covering the lid for my box, and I'm not going to be painting it. I'm just going to be leaving it plain. But if you want to do that, you can cut strips and you can cut pieces for the inside of here too, or you can paint it, you can leave it plain, however you prefer. But this is it for the tutorial for the chest. And if you have followed along and made the album, which I'm guessing you did, if you also made the chest, you can place your album in here and you will see that there is plenty of room. So if you wanted to make additional like photo wallets and other inserts and things to place in here along with your album, you could do so. Now the album doesn't stand up very well on its own, so it does lean a little bit. So I'm just going to lean mine and then close my chest. And this is the finished project. So I hope you have enjoyed making the treasure chest and the mini album inside. A special thank you again to Scrap and Create for providing all of the Stamperia Songs of the Sea papers and the ephemera that I used in the collection. All of those products are linked in the description box below, so if you are following along and just enjoying the tutorial series and you would like to follow along, don't forget to check all of those products out. Go ahead and purchase those so you can make your own treasure chest and album. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.